Okay, thanks everyone for joining us. Our inaugural webinar here from Gurru. I'm sure everyone's applauding. They're just on mute, so we can't hear them, Viv. But first of many, a little bit of housekeeping to start with. We have myself. For those who don't know me, I founded Gurru 4 or 5 years ago. My background's in the waste industry, more on the trucks and driver side, but here we are talking about sustainability and waste. We have Viv, who's our senior consultant from Perth and head of our engagement team. And we have Kim, who's our consultant in Brisbane, who described herself before we started as just the clicker. But she's so much more than that to us, but she will be clicking as we go through. A little bit more housekeeping. This will be recorded. We're going to share it around after via Teams, I'm told. I'm also told that your question should be, there's two chats. There's a chat and a Q&A chat. Your question should be in the Q&A chat, I believe. But if you've got something really pressing and you want to yell it out, I'm okay with that as I go. And just another point, we also have a plastics webinar coming, no date out yet, but it'll be in about August. You'll all get an invite to that when we're kind of ready. But here we are talking about organic waste. Go, Kim. Skip this one, next one. What we're going to cover today, the whys. Go back, Kim. Today we're going to cover the whys on organics recycling, some insights we're going to share from some of our great clients, actionable steps that we can all take, and some conclusions where I'll sort of hand over to Viv at that point. So thanks, Kim. Next. Why it matters. Organics, as I'm sure everyone who's on this call knows, is a key contributor to waste-related emissions. I'm told that 20% total human-made methane emissions comes from decomposing food and organic waste, and those of you who've been into landfills regularly, like myself, and I guess the right solutions guys are on the call too, they'd know this. Landfills are full of organics despite people's attempts to recycle it. And the third point here, it's probably not put that well, but if you've already bought too much of it, recycling is a really good option.
Boss, I want to know in relation to Garden Square, they want sort of a
sorry, someone needs to be muted there. Mohan, there you go. Thanks, Mohan. Of course, it's best to not buy too much and minimize your waste before recycling, but we're here to talk about recycling. Thanks, Kim. Next. For more details around why it matters, for the environment, of course, it converts waste to compost, reduces emissions, protects our waterways. From a business perspective, which is kind of one of my sweet spots, it really reduces landfill levies. These days, organics in many regions are cheaper per tonne now than landfill, and will only get cheaper as landfill levies go up, particularly in Victoria, where the landfill levy is going up by $40 a tonne very soon. The gap will continue to grow, and as you've got a site with more volume, it'll become more efficient. So, you know, 4 or 5 years ago, it wasn't that cost effective. Now it's really becoming very cost effective. In terms of compliance, we've got the New South Wales organics mandates, so it's important from that perspective. And for individuals, it enables people to sort of come together as a community and support local agriculture, etc. The thing we don't have on here is, I also feel quite strongly there's a brand and reputational piece here where for larger organisations, portfolio owners, it's important to be seen to be doing the right thing. And I think that particularly if you're running commercial offices and increasingly retail shops, it's important for your clients to want to think that they're partnering with someone who's good at sustainability and organic recycling. Thanks, Kim. In terms of some insights, just touching on some of our clients who are performing quite well. We're calling out Key Quarter Tower, part of the Dex's portfolio, now up to 27% of their total building volume recycled as organics. Key things they're doing there are really around engagement and reinforcement and monitoring. There's a lot of commercial kitchens in the building and a lot of staff, very large tower, a lot of engagement, a lot of messaging around organics not being admitted to landfill. They must be put through the organic stream. They've got the right infrastructure, people constantly reminding, and good monitoring system. We're also calling out Collins Square. Sorry, Frank, we didn't do Parramatta Square. We're doing Collins Square instead of yours. Quadrupled organics within 2 years through really strong engagement with, again, some commercial kitchens and other tenants. We did have their 4% to 17%, didn't look as impressive, but quadrupled is a good number and some great outcomes. Thanks, Kim. We at Gurru really advocate for a holistic approach to this. We liken this to a journey where all of the steps really need to be considered and implemented, from infrastructure, training and education. I'll touch on each of these in a minute. Engagement with the community, and then monitoring and feedback. We're just really emphasising, just one or two things aren't really going to get you the result you want. It needs to be holistic. Go, Kim. I thought you'd read my mind then. When it comes to infrastructure, I think most people on the call probably, believe the same thing as us. We've got to get rid of under-desk bins, put in the sorting stations. I guess the spin I would put on it is infrastructure alone won't answer what you want, but it really underpins the outcome that you need. Our experience working with large owners, like we're calling out here 66 Kings Park Road, but that's part of the Centuria portfolio, where Centuria just basically said, we're going to put a 4-bin system in every tenancy in every building we have. And we saw an immediate and material uptick in recycling performance as a consequence of that. The other steps need to come, but it really underpins what you want to do on the next steps. Thanks, Kim. Next, Kim.
That's phase 2.
Yeah, training and education. We've differentiated this from engagement. This is more around really ensuring that the people who are involved in the process understand what our aims are and what behaviours need to change and they need to follow to achieve good recycling of organics. Cleaners, a lot of it starts with cleaners. Can they recognise contaminants? Are they trained to recognise it? Are they trained to report it? I guess it doesn't happen as much, but when we kind of started this business, we would get a lot of feedback of, blame put on the cleaners. But ultimately, they're a really important part of this collaboration because they're the ones who are collecting the waste every day. They can see the contamination, they can see what people are doing right and wrong, and having them really well trained and part of the process in terms of providing feedback, contributing to the solution is really important. Managers of tenancies, really this is about leadership. We find that tenancies and buildings that perform the best are those that have great leadership from their people in power in the tenancy. If they don't care, it's kind of going to flow on to the rest. But if they really care, if they've got in-depth knowledge and they're equipped to support their staff, that is a really important factor. And then, of course, when it comes to staff, we can have the right infrastructure. We also need to make sure that everyone understands what can and can't go in different bins. And, the engagement comes after that in terms of making them want to do it. Next, thanks, Kim. So on engagement, we really believe in this. We really like it to be repetitive with some engaging formats. One size doesn't fit all. In fact, we like to have I guess I liken it, Viv, when we do it, having a toolkit. We like to have a bunch of tools that we can use to reinforce, depending on the circumstances. Multi-format communications are really important. If you're just doing the same thing all the time, if all it is an email every quarter, people are going to switch off to that pretty quickly. So engaging format's really important, and gamification is a word that is thrown around everywhere. If done properly, we find that it is very powerful. When we reach the point where we have tenants saying to us, those guys over there are doing better than us, what are they doing that we're not doing? That's when you're winning with gamification, when people are actually competing and they care. It can be as simple as coffee vouchers, points, or recognition, or even just a call out in an email to tenants that are performing well and sharing best practice. But, we really know we've got them when people are starting to sort of compare their results there. Thanks, Kim. Kim.
I think there's like a lag, sorry. I really flicked it.
I'm going to start yelling, Kim. It's okay. It's all right. As long as you're not falling asleep on the job.
No, you're doing it great. It's good.
Of course, the final phase, and this is one of the reasons that Gurru was kind of born around monitoring, feedback, and continuous improvement. We really believe in tracking, reporting, and monitoring what's going on. We find that when we've got the data and we talk about it regularly and we compare results and we see trends, that is the thing that really empowers what's happening. I'm not sure if Rebecca from Pacific Fair's on the call. Go back one. Oh, yeah. But just a quick call out there for Pacific Fair for GPT, who have got a really good, for a very large retail centre, a very good monitoring system for organics and coffee grounds. I think Demi's on the call as well from AssetLink, who handles this. But in a super large retail centre, they are tracking organics performance by tenant and by location, and that monitoring and allows them to communicate very clearly with all the tenants who's performing, hold them to account, and kind of drive improvements from there. Without it, you've just got a big lot of organics. You don't know where it's coming from. That detailed monitoring and the feedback loop to tenants is really driving a good performance there. Thanks, Kim. Right, so we've got a game here. How did we decide we're going to do this, Viv? Oh, so we've got some sneaky contaminants in the organics bins. Happy for anyone to unmute themselves and yell out what they think the answer is, if they're confident to kind of go for it. So anyone?
Otherwise, please feel free to use the chat box.
Yeah. If not, flick to the next one.
I can be the first brave one. I think everyone has woken up feeling a bit brave. I think that one of those contaminants is a plastic container.
They all have packaging.
So these are shots from the Bin Tracker platform that cleaners are taking of organics recycling, and I guess this we think this is a great example of how monitoring allows us to be data driven in terms of our feedback to people within a complex or a building around, yes, you are putting good volume in organics, but we're finding these contaminants. Here's the evidence. Let's be data driven and go back to the specific people who are doing it and re-educate them on the specifics of what they're getting wrong, rather than, just a general pitch to the whole building. We like to kind of narrow that down to, and the question, sorry, I missed that. Kim, what was that question?
Someone has a question. Does it also track which store or bin the contamination is occurring?
Yeah, well, in this case, yes. It'll tell us per tenant per level, and that really allows us to focus our education on who we think is, needs some more of it versus, just trying to eat the elephant in one bite and train the whole building. So, yeah, for sure. Next slide will show the contaminants. Here we go. Plastic, right? Always plastic. Contamination reporting really helps identify contamination. It's targeted and data-driven, and helps us give that really specific feedback to the people who are contaminating. Okay, next. All right, over to you, Viv.
Thank
I'll shut
you.
up now. Thanks.
Hi, everyone.
You told me 15 minutes. Got it.
That's great. And I am just going to start reflecting a little bit of that slide that you skipped, which is waste is our focus, sustainability is our mission, because I often hear there's not much we can do in our homes or our workspace to kind of make a difference. Sustainability isn't about being perfect, and I would like all of us to leave this room today in a bit more inspired and knowing that our work or our initiatives can make the difference. So it's better to just have a room of people doing sustainability imperfectly than just one person doing it perfectly. So we thought it was going to be a bit more of a practical part for the workshop to kind of give some advice. I've been asking this question a lot in the last 2 or 3 years that I run organics campaigns or organics awareness. And I always ask my clients, and I let you all give it a go. If you haven't been in my presentations, you might not be able to answer it, but I'll put it out there. Do we know how long does a lettuce take to break down in landfill? We need that time in years. And again, if we got someone who wants to unmute and give us an answer, I'm happy for you guys to Google it or just came up with something.
And for those who aren't used to Viv's accent, she said lettuce.
Yeah, someone said 10 years there. It's a bit more. If you get it right and you live in WA, I will take you out for dinner next week. 12 years. Nothing. It's 25 years. So, yeah.
Someone got it right.
Someone got it right. I hope that person doesn't live in WA, otherwise I have a dinner organized for next week. Right, it's 25 years. And if you put that same lettuce in a compost bin, the breakdown time it's about 2 weeks. And what does this difference comes from is because of how a landfill and a compost bin works. So if we ever seen a compost bin before, compost needs oxygen to break down waste in a way that doesn't produce carbon emissions or methane gases, while landfills get waste compacted, which makes that waste take years and years to break down. So there is hope, and we all can make a sustainable decision today and stop putting organics into the landfill bin. And if you're in a building that does organics, you don't have to worry about it. But if you're home, we have a couple of options, I think, in the next slide for you guys to have a look at. One, and the first one is the composter. I think my personal favorite one. If you don't have a big space or a house or an outdoor area, this works really well. We even have seen it in office spaces. It's the first picture on the left. You can grow your own herbs, and I don't think bones and large quantities of food are allowed, but in an office space works really well, or in a household of 4. As Chad mentioned at the beginning, not because we have a compost bin, we kind of need to be guilt-free about putting away our food in the bin. So we also have some tips at the end to kind of advise you how to be a bit more careful with your decisions when you purchase. Second one, Warm Farm. That's the one that I personally have at home. Really low maintenance, very cheap in Bunnings. I don't think it costs more than $35. You do need an outdoor area for this, to kind of dig in a hole or kind of have that set up. People think that attracts animals, rats, or pests. Never seen anything of that near my house. Obviously, you need to make sure you don't put bones in there or meat. That's what attracts those animals or insects. Super easy to maintain. You need to feed the worms once a week, put dry materials, and then you get precious materials for your plants. And the 45 indoor plants I got in my house are really grateful for it. And the third one, but not last, is the bokashi one. Bokashi, and that's actually the setup we got in our head office in Melbourne. Bokashi is even easier than the first 2 ones. You simply dip put all the food scraps in that box, and then you put a little bit of a liquid that comes in with the bokashi box, and then you get fertilizer in a concentrate liquid. So it's even easier, and it does recommended for places that don't have big amounts of food scraps, or that probably don't have people coming in or traveling around. So that's really even lower maintenance than the first 2 ones.
Viv, I just wanted to jump in there quickly and just say, like, we do come across clients who will say that we're working for a tenancy, our building doesn't have organics, we want to do something. I just want to re-emphasize that these are good solutions for, single tenancy offices where your building might not support you, but you want to get an outcome. I mean, most buildings these days have it, or councils have it, but just wanted to emphasize it's a really good option for small tenancies where the building might not support your goals. You can still get there.
Yeah, and I'll keep pushing for it, but don't wait for that to happen to make a difference. The first option, that's called the composter. We have a partnership. So if you put the discount code Gurru, you get 20% off. The next slide is going to show us a bit of there's a lot of information out there about compostable materials and biodegradable. And I don't want to start a political conversation, at least not now and not here. WA circumstances, and this is really broad because every state has different bans on different materials. So we just need you to be careful when you look for compostable materials and how to dispose them. So it's not the same to have a home compostable takeaway container or an industrial one and putting them into a compost bin. So we please ask you to always keep an eye on those 2 logos on the right, because they are certified compostable, and each logo will tell you if it's then good to go in your compost bin at home or it's good to go in a compost facility We just have one waste contractor here in WA that allows tenants or buildings to put that waste, that sort of waste in those bins. So we just need to make sure that at least in your office space, it's that contractor is in place. Otherwise, councils, as far as I know, do not accept any of those compostable materials, and that say is coffee cups, takeaway containers, and everything. So just make sure we can address those certified logos in any packaging that you come across. What else we got? So I think my favorite part is how to mitigate the issue before having to. Recycling is a very expensive process. So if we can mitigate that and instead just being more conscious when we go into the shops, it's better. One of the things that I really like to do is using my purchasing power. So I'm the one who goes into the shops. And to be honest, our weeks never gone as we plan. So we like to go into the shop one time in the week, and then try to fill in all dinners and lunches without allowing us for any flexibility. And that tell us that we putting us at least $50 to $75 a week in the bin in food waste, because we think we're going to eat in every day or every night, and then we ended up going out and putting those leftovers in the bin. So just be more conscious. Don't believe those marketing trends about like paying for one and getting two. If you don't need it, don't buy it. Meal plan ahead, do a list, go and try to go into the shop at least twice so you don't have to buy for the whole week. Try to maximize your leftovers and put them in the freezer. They won't hurt you. They won't. And there is lots of misunderstanding with labeling as well. So recent research in Australia has demonstrated that people doesn't understand the difference between before buy and used buy. So just make sure that you're making the right decision when you're putting something in the bin. Just smell it. Obviously, if it smells off, don't use it. But otherwise, it should be good. And the last one is the used it all up, which is broccoli is a really good example. We've been told that we need to cut the steam from the broccoli and not put it. But next time you do a stir fry, just try to put it all and you won't regret.
Viv, I've got one on the banana bread. That's a key to your children's heart and key to using up old bananas. Banana bread once a week. Trust me.
Yeah, that's great. And just the last slide, I think, is just have a little bit of a takeaway, and obviously what do we think are the key solutions for this. In first instance, obviously, if we can just try to avoid food waste, I think we need to go into the next slide. I just got 5 more minutes, no stress. Just recycling food waste is the only answer if you can avoid it. But yeah, obviously we ask you to please be careful and be conscious with your decisions. There's lots of information out there in terms of how you can actually make better decisions when you're shopping, and just make sure that your building has an organic setup. And if they don't, try to push for it. Otherwise, the options that we mentioned before and had chat highlighted are available. And yeah, stay tuned because we have another webinar coming up in August, and it's about plastic. So that'll be fun.
Absolutely. Did we have any pressing Q&A to get to here, Kim?
No, not.
Well, we have another 5 minutes. So if anyone wants to yell out a question that's pressing, I guess Viv, Kim and I are happy to kind of take it.
I'm glad to see my WA participant was the one who got 25 years. Well done, Sharp.
Oh,
You've been in one of my workshops, that's why.
That's because you email him every week telling him it takes 25 years for a lettuce. That's right. All right. If no one's got any questions or anything to add, which I'm happy to take or not take, we'll end it there.
Oh, I've got one question. If there is one thing that you think everyone should know about organics, what is it?
Go, Viv, you can take this.
That it's not the same to put it into the red bin than the green one. So if you decide to put your organics in an organics bin, you are already making the difference. As I mentioned before, organics in landfill take many years to break down, but also produce carbon emissions. So we try and we can't make that decision every day ourselves at the office and at home if we can't set up a compost bin. So I think, yeah, that'll be my highlight.
I would say, and my answer there is because everyone gets this wrong, bamboo cutlery, generally, WA might have slightly different rules. Bamboo cutlery, don't put it in the organics bin. It goes in general waste. So if you're going back to your office with some food, don't get the cutlery. You've got cutlery in your office. That's just a little thing, but, you know, an important thing to remember.
We've got 2 questions. So the first one is, what is the recycling rate and what is the industrial average for retail and for commercial?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question, Frank. We might update everyone with some stats on that later. We'll do some benchmarking and kind of shoot that out. We've just done a bit of work on benchmarking that kind of indicates around, actually, I
think it's 8 to 10%.
While you talk.
Yeah, for organics, it's between 8 to 10% organics deviation for the whole building. That's kind of average standard that we would like to see buildings to be performing at, between 8 to 10.
Sorry, Yuning did one, and I can't recall the. Here we go. Here we go, Frank. Out of 347 commercial buildings that we are recording, those without an organic stream had an average recycling rate of 27%. In contrast, buildings with an organic stream recorded a significantly higher recycling rate of 48%. So that went from, to re-emphasize that, from 27% to 48%, indicating the benefit of having an organic stream is clear. It really, if you've got it, I mean, of course you're thinking about recycling, but it really drives an improved performance. Yeah. Now,
I guess we've got 2 questions, but I'll just read one of it, and then for the rest of the questions we can respond via email sometime this week. So the question is, how resource intensive is the bin tracker app that the cleaners have to use?
Yeah, moderately, Ria. Thanks for the question. Nice to see you on the call. Moderately, I wouldn't say it's nothing, but it is part of their normal duties. They collect the bags and bins, go to the scales in the basement of the building on mobile scales and record what they're doing. It probably adds, you know, a little bit of time for every bag, but I think, and I'm selfish in saying this, I'll admit my bias. The data that it gives us is really rich, being able to understand, you know, to use Frank's example in Parramatta Square, which is a gigantic precinct. Just knowing the total is one thing and kind of difficult to work with, but understanding the split of waste and recycling by building, by sector, by level, by tenant is a powerful piece of information that you can lean on to change behavior. And you know, one of the key things we do in Gurru is we don't kind of roll in and say, hey, let's just do this one thing and change behavior for everyone. We look at who's the biggest waste producer, who's performing well, who's not, who's doing organics, and drive engagement around that. Sorry, that was a long answer, Rhea. I hope that's okay.
Awesome. Yeah, we've got a couple more questions, but I guess since we're running out of time, we'll respond in an email later this week.
Yep.
Great. Thank you so much to everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
For coming.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. Any questions, you can always email us.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Ciao.
Bye. Bye.